Hello everyone, I'm Joel Nazarino, and here I will bring you the whole biography of Jose Rizal. Here's a quote from Rizal, which says, "He who does not know how to look back at where he came from will never get to his destination." This quote embodies his deep love for his country and his vision for its future. Even more than a century after his death, Rizal still remains a symbol of freedom, patriotism, and the power of education. But who was he beyond the history books? This this biography will take you through a deep dive of the life of the man whose words and actions changed the entire course of the Philippines. Now, here's his early life and education. Rizal was born on June 19th, 1861, in Calamba, Laguna. He was the seventh of 11 children in a well-educated family. His father, Francisco Mercado, was a prosperous landowner, while his mother, Theod Theodora Alonso, was a well-read woman who taught Rizal the value of knowledge. From a young age, Rizal displayed extraordinary intelligence. By the age of 3, he could already recite the alphabet, and around 5, he could already learn how to read and write. His mother is the one who introduced literature to him, which ignited his love for storytelling and poetry. His early education began in Binan, where he studied under the strict guidance of Maestro Justiniano Aquino Cruz. But his real academic journey took shape when he enrolled at Ateneo Municipal de Manila. There, he was recognized as one of the brightest students, mainly getting top honors every consistently. Once he completed his studies at Ateneo, he pursued higher education at the University of Santo Tomas, where he studied medicine. However, during that time, he experienced racial discrimination, as Filipino students were often treated unfairly compared to Spaniards. Trying to seek a more progressive learning environment, he left for Spain in 1882 to continue his medical studies at the Universidad Central de Madrid. Now, here we are to his literary works and activism. While Rizal was a doctor, his greatest weapon was his pen. He believed that knowledge and awareness could free the Filipinos from the Spanish oppression. His writings were not just literary masterpieces; they were main messages that called for reform. In 1887, Rizal published a book called Nali Me Tangeri, which means "Touch Me Not." It's a novel that exposed the corruption and cruelty of Spanish friars and officials. The book angered the Spanish authorities, which led to them banning it in the Philippines. But despite this, it spread rapidly, which opened the eyes of many Filipinos to the injustices around them. 4 years later, in 1891, he published El Filibusterismo, which means the reign of greed. It's a more radical sequel that depicted the struggles of Filipinos and the need for change. Rizal was also a prominent writer for another book, which is La Solidaridad. It's a reformist newspaper that advocated for the Filipino representation in the Spanish government. Through his articles, he called for reforms such as the equal treatment for Filipinos, freedom of speech, and access to education. Now, in 1892, upon returning to the Philippines, Rizal founded La Liga Filipina, which is a peaceful reformist organization. Eventually, the Spanish authorities saw that as a threat, which led to his arrest and exile to Dapitan in Mindanao. During his exile, which is far from his political center, Rizal did not let that did not let the exile silence him. In Dapitan, he still continued his mission to uplift his other fellow Filipinos. He established a school for children, provided free education in subjects like science, history, and languages. He also practiced medicine, which treated patients regardless of their social status. Rizal even introduced innovations in agriculture and water supply, proving that a nation could progress through knowledge and self-sufficiency. However, in 1891, as tensions rose between the Spanish authorities and revolutionaries, Rizal was eventually falsely accused of being involved in the Katipunan's armed rebellion. This eventually led to his arrest and taken back to Manila. This was also like the start of his exile, and this was also the start of his final years. During his trial, he was swift and unjust. Re, Rizal was accused of treason, sedition, and conspiracy. But despite his repeated claims that he always supported peaceful reforms, the Spanish government already decided his fate long ago. This led to his sentence to death by the firing squad. On the morning of December 30th, 1896, Rizal walked to Bagumbayan, which is known as the Rizal Park. As he faced his executioners, he refused to be blindfolded. As the shots were fired, he turned to face the rising sun, falling to the ground with dignity and courage. Despite this, though, his death was not the end. It was the beginning. It was the beginning of a spark that ignited the Philippine Revolution. Well, now onto his legacy and influence. Jose Rizal's sacrifice inspired the revolutionaries who continued to fight for independence. His writings and ideals live on, which shaped the identity of the Filipino people. Even today, his legacy is honored through the Republic Act of number 1425, also known as the Rizal Law, which mandates the study of his works in schools. His name is immortalized in countless monuments, streets, and institutions across the country. Now, now even in his books, his message still remains clear to today. Education and critical thinking are the keys to national progress. He once said, "The youth is the hope of our future." As Filipinos, we are challenged to continue to his legacy, to fight not with weapons, but with knowledge, unity, and love for our country. So this is the entire life of Rizal, whose words awakened a nation and whose sacrifice gave birth to freedom. His story is not just history, it is a lesson for all of us. Here's the references.